She saved his life, but in return, she wanted his soul. Sophia gave Ryan her kidney, believing it would bind them forever. But when he pulled away, the love that once saved him became an obsession that could destroy them both. What happens when the line between love and control shatters? Will love heal a heart or break it? Sophia and Ryan were the kind of couple that everyone admired. They met in their second year of college, and from the very beginning, their friends saw them as inseparable. They walked through campus hand in hand, spent late nights studying in the library, and dreamed together of a shared future after graduation. To outsiders, they were the picture-perfect pair, laughing, planning their careers, and discussing where they would live when their lives truly began after university. But as they entered their final year, something shifted. Ryan, who had always been energetic and optimistic, started to slow down. He was exhausted all the time, losing weight, and seemed irritable. At first, Sophia assumed it was the stress of exams and the pressure of graduating, but the truth was far worse. After several doctor's visits and tests, Ryan was diagnosed with kidney failure. The diagnosis hit them both like a tidal wave. Ryan was devastated, not just by the illness but by the uncertainty of his future. He withdrew into himself, overwhelmed by the fear that he wouldn't live long enough to build the life he and Sophia had dreamed of. He stopped talking about their future, stopped planning trips or discussing their careers after graduation. Instead, his world became small, defined by doctor appointments, medications, and endless fatigue. Sophia, on the other hand, couldn't imagine a future without Ryan. She refused to let his diagnosis define their relationship. She would do anything to save him, anything to get back the man she had fallen in love with. When the doctors mentioned the possibility of a kidney transplant, Sophia immediately volunteered to get tested. Incredibly, she was a match. The news shocked everyone, but it also felt like a sign, like their love was destined to overcome even the darkest moments. Sophia didn't hesitate. Despite the risks and warnings from doctors, she underwent surgery to donate one of her kidneys to Ryan. The operation was grueling and recovery wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Ryan's health improved dramatically, and for a brief moment, it seemed like they had beaten the odds together. He regained his strength, and with it came a sense of normalcy they hadn't felt in months. But as Ryan's physical health improved, something in their relationship began to falter. Ryan, though deeply grateful for Sophia's sacrifice, found himself grappling with a new kind of weight, guilt. He had always prided himself on being independent, on solving his own problems and managing his own life, but now he owed everything to Sophia. She had saved his life, and there was no way he could ever repay her. He felt an overwhelming sense of obligation toward her, as though every action he took from that point on had to reflect the debt he now carried. It started slowly, small doubts that crept into his mind during their conversations. When Sophia would talk about their future, Ryan felt a strange sense of detachment, like the plans they had once made together no longer belonged to him. He wasn't sure if it was the trauma of the illness or the fact that he felt like he had become an extension of Sophia's will. He owed her everything after all. What right did he have to think about his own needs or desires? He started to feel trapped by the weight of her expectations. Ryan didn't want to feel this way, but as much as he tried to push the guilt aside, it only grew stronger. Every time Sophia would mention how grateful he should be, or how their love had conquered such great odds, it reminded him of the unspoken burden between them. It wasn't that he didn't love her anymore, it was just that their relationship no longer felt equal, and the more he thought about it, the more he pulled away. As Ryan's health improved, Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of relief. She had saved his life, given him a second chance, and that cemented her belief that they were meant to be together forever. In her mind, this wasn't just a romantic bond, it was something sacred, something unbreakable. But over time, that relief transformed into something more complicated, something darker. She didn't just love Ryan, she needed him to realize that without her, he wouldn't even be alive. Sophia began to see their relationship not as an equal partnership, but as something she had earned through her sacrifice. Without her, Ryan wouldn't be here. Without her, there would be no future for him to live for. She had given him everything, and that meant he owed her. The love she had once given freely now came with invisible strings attached. She started to feel entitled to his every decision, his every moment. If Ryan did anything without her, anything that didn't show his gratitude, Sophia felt a pang of anger and resentment. It started subtly. Sophia began asking more about where Ryan was going, who he was spending time with, and what he was doing when they weren't together. She justified this by telling herself that she deserved to know. After all, she had sacrificed so much for him. She reminded Ryan constantly of how much she had done, how she had risked her own health for his life. She wanted him to prioritize her in everything, as she had prioritized him. But the more Sophia tightened her grip, the more Ryan withdrew. At first, Ryan tried to accommodate her, but her constant need for reassurance began to wear on him. He grew quieter, more distant, and Sophia couldn't stand it. She told herself it was just the strain of the recovery, that once everything went back to normal, he would come around. But deep down, she feared she was losing him. That fear began to manifest in darker ways. She found herself checking his phone when he wasn't looking, reading his messages, searching for anything that would explain his distance. She told herself it was to protect him, but in truth, it was her growing insecurity, her need to control every part of his life that drove her. When she didn't find anything incriminating, Sophia felt momentarily relieved, but that relief never lasted long. Soon the doubts would creep back in, and with them came a gnawing sense of paranoia. She wasn't enough for him. She wasn't in control. Ryan was slipping away, and no matter how much she had sacrificed, she couldn't stop it. Instead of confronting those fears, Sophia sought validation elsewhere. Sophia began texting other men. At first, it was innocent, just old friends she hadn't talked to in years. She told herself it was nothing serious, just conversations to keep her mind off the growing tension with Ryan. But as Ryan pulled further away, those texts became a source of comfort, a way for her to feel desired again. She craved the attention, the reassurance that she was still attractive, still in control of something. The power of being wanted by someone else made her feel like she wasn't completely losing herself, even if she wasn't entirely aware of what she was doing. She never thought Ryan would find out. The texts weren't anything serious, just small flirtations here and there. She convinced herself that they were harmless, a distraction from the growing emptiness in her relationship. But one evening, when Ryan glanced at her phone and saw a message from a man he didn't recognize, everything came crashing down. Ryan's heart sank as he read the message. It wasn't overtly inappropriate, but the tone was unmistakable. It was flirtatious, intimate in a way that made his stomach twist. After everything they had been through, after Sophia had saved his life, how could she betray him like this? The woman he had once seen as his savior now felt like a stranger. The sacrifice she had made only deepened the sense of betrayal.
Sophia, who is this?
Ryan's voice trembled with anger as he handed her the phone. Sophia's face paled. She hadn't expected this. She hadn't meant for Ryan to see the messages, and part of her hadn't even taken them seriously. They were just a distraction, something to fill the void she refused to acknowledge. But seeing Ryan's face now, the hurt and disbelief in his eyes, Sophia realized she had crossed a line.
Ryan, it's not what you think,
she whispered, panic creeping into her voice.
I wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything.
But Ryan wasn't listening. His face hardened, his eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and rage.
How could you, Sophia? After everything we've been through, You think this doesn't mean anything? I don't even know who you are anymore.
For the first time, Ryan fell free from the invisible chains of obligation that Sophia had wrapped around him since the surgery. Yes, she had saved his life, but he realized now that the love he once felt for her had been replaced by guilt and the burden of repaying a debt he hadn't asked for. He could no longer live under the weight of that, and certainly not with someone who had betrayed him so deeply. Despite Sophia's desperate pleas, Ryan made his decision. He thanked her for what she had done, but told her he couldn't stay in a relationship built on control and mistrust. He was done. The breakup shattered Sophia. She had sacrificed everything for Ryan, and now he was gone. For weeks, she couldn't sleep or eat. Every waking moment was consumed by thoughts of him, of what they had lost. She replayed their final conversation in her mind, searching for some clue, some explanation as to why it had all fallen apart. How had things gone so wrong after they had overcome such a monumental hurdle? It didn't take long for Sophia's heartbreak to morph into something darker. She convinced herself that Ryan still loved her, that he was just confused, that he would come back if only she could make him see how much she still loved him. When she heard that Ryan had started dating Emily, the barista from the cafe, Sophia was consumed with rage. How could he move on so quickly? After everything she had done for him, after she had literally saved his life, he had replaced her with someone new. The injustice of it burned inside her, fueling her obsession. She became convinced that if she could just talk to Ryan, make him see reason, he would realize that Emily wasn't right for him, that he belonged with her. That's when the scheming began. Sophia started small. She created a fake account to send anonymous messages to Ryan, hinting that Emily wasn't who she appeared to be. The messages were subtle at first, suggesting that Emily had a secret life, that she wasn't as innocent as she seemed. But as time went on and Ryan didn't immediately break things off, Sophia's tactics became more aggressive. She began spreading rumors, planting seeds of doubt in Ryan's mind. And then one evening, she orchestrated the perfect plan. Through some digging, she found out that Emily had recently reconnected with an old friend, Mark. Sophia arranged for Ryan to see Emily and Mark at a cafe, knowing that their friendly interaction would look suspicious out of context. Ryan saw them together, just as Sophia had planned. From a distance, Emily and Mark's conversation seemed intimate. They laughed, leaned in close, and shared an easy familiarity that Ryan hadn't felt with Sophia in months. His heart sank again, but this time it wasn't just guilt. It was betrayal. He didn't confront Emily immediately, but from that moment, something between them changed. Ryan's relationship with Emily began to unravel, and Sophia watched it all unfold with a sick sense of satisfaction. The more distant Ryan became, the more desperate Emily grew. She could sense that something was wrong, but Ryan wouldn't open up to her. He kept his suspicions to himself, unsure of what to believe. One evening, after weeks of tension, Emily finally confronted him. "Ryan, what's going on? Why are you shutting me out?" Ryan, overwhelmed by the anonymous messages and what he had seen with Mark, exploded.
I saw you with him, Emily. How could you do this to me?
Emily, blindsided, tried to explain, but Ryan wasn't listening. The trust that had already been fragile crumbled, and their relationship fell apart. Sophia, from the sidelines, believed she had won, but her victory was short-lived. The anonymous messages didn't go unnoticed. Emily, hurt and confused, began digging into where they were coming from. Her friend Mark had heard rumors about Sophia's manipulative behavior, and after some investigation, uncovered the truth. He confronted Sophia, warning her that Emily's family wouldn't take kindly to anyone trying to ruin her life. Still, Sophia brushed him off, convinced that Ryan would soon come running back to her. It wasn't long before Ryan pieced together the truth as well. After talking to Emily, who shared everything she had discovered, Ryan realized that the anonymous messages, the staged cafe meeting, all of it had been part of Sophia's plan. The betrayal cut him deeper than anything else. He had been wrong about Emily, but worse, he had been played by the person who had once been the most important figure in his life. Ryan confronted Sophia with fury and disbelief.
I can't believe you would go this far. You saved my life, and for that I'll always be grateful. But this, you've crossed the line.
Sophia, in shock, tried to explain herself. She hadn't meant for things to go this far. She had just wanted him back. But Ryan wasn't interested in hearing her excuses. His anger was final. He told her to leave his life for good, and with that, Sophia realized that she had lost him forever. In the aftermath, Sophia was left to face the consequences of her actions. She had destroyed any hope of a future with Ryan, and in doing so, had nearly destroyed herself. The realization of how far she had fallen, the manipulations, the obsession, forced her to confront her deepest fears. The fear of being alone, the fear of abandonment, and the fear that she was unworthy of love. Sophia sought therapy to untangle the web of emotions that had driven her to such destructive behavior. She reconnected with her family, the people who had always loved her unconditionally, and began to rebuild her life one step at a time. It wasn't easy, and the scars of her past mistakes lingered, but slowly she started to heal. Months later, at an art exhibition, she met James. He wasn't a replacement for Ryan, but he was kind, supportive, and patient, everything she needed at that stage of her life. They started as friends, and over time, their relationship blossomed into something more. James saw her not as the woman who had been consumed by her past, but as someone who was growing and learning from it. With James, Sophia found a new beginning. She realized that true happiness didn't come from clinging to the past, but from embracing the future. Though her love story with Ryan had ended in heartbreak, Sophia discovered that life had many more chapters yet to be written, ones filled with hope, growth, and a love that didn't come at the cost of someone else's pain. The end. Thanks for your support. Please like, comment, and share this story.